Hey.
It's the ADA version of Wednesday with Yoots.
That's right.
So hello, and Sayla, of course, right on cue. Come on in.
She just knows.
Yeah, say hello to everybody. Hello. Hi there.
Hi, everybody. So glad you could join us tonight.
How
Welcome.
You doing, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody doing all right tonight? We're going to do today. This week is the anniversary. Actually, Friday. This is Wednesday. Friday the 26th is the 29th anniversary of the ADA, and so we're going to do a little ADA quiz. See what we know about the ADA. I learned a couple things in working through things.
I'm not real good with history quizzes. You never let me see the questions ahead of time, which I'll apologize in advance if I don't know all the answers, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
Well, we'll have some fun,
Yeah.
and I did some of the research too, so she may have a little advantage on a couple questions.
Oh, good.
And there are only 7 questions. I wish I could have done more, but we were pushing real hard today to get ready for the show. And this is what we got. We got these 7, but I think you'll like these. There's some surprising things in there, and that's what we're going to do is play
Kristen
around with that.
says she doesn't have any sound, so hopefully everybody else has sound.
Let's see. Could somebody, before we get going, confirm that they have sound? Anybody else that's listening? Are you hearing us, Kathy? We'll give it 15 seconds before we jump into the quiz.
Kathy has sound, so it must be.
So Kristen, maybe check your device, see if it's okay there. But thanks for the warning. We wouldn't want to do a show without sound. We have done a few minutes. We've done a number of minutes along the way, which shows.
We learned the hard way.
Sayla's back. I'm going to give her treat right away so we can jump right into the quiz.
Good.
So it's the 29th anniversary of the ADA. And so here's our quiz. The very first question is, what date was the original ADA legislation signed? What date was the original legislation signed? I've already given you the answer. All you have to do is remember what I've said.
Is that all?
Was it July 26, 1990? Was it July 26, 1980? Was it July 26, 1970? Or was it July 4, 1776?
Well, let's rule out July 4th, 1776, because I think that's more than 29 years.
Oh.
So do I get to guess?
There's a little hint in the picture there, too. Not a little hint, a big hint.
Oh, well, yeah.
So,
which president is signing it?
Anybody know the answer to that one?
Laura's saying A. And,
Yeah.
I agree.
Let's see what the answer is. We're just going to move forward. I'm sure people will put their guesses in while we go, but this is our introductory one. It was signed, of course, in 1990, 29 years ago. Next year will be the 30th anniversary, which isn't that long ago when you think about it. Only 30 years. And it was revolutionary. There's a few others in the world, but actually still there's not a lot of legislation around the world, so I don't know. The Friday after this broadcast is the 29th anniversary of the signing. So just a couple of days from now, unless you're watching later, who knows when you might be watching, because we store these. If you're on YouTube, I have no idea when it was, but that was the date, July 26, 1990. So who knows what anniversary it will be on.
We got lots of people out there that know, because Diane says A, Kathy says A, Laura.
Yeah. That was a given.
That was an easy one.
Actually, all of them were pretty easy. This might be my easiest quiz I've given to date.
Good.
So here it is. Per current mandate, must all doors in public facilities be automated? This is the question. Per current mandate, must all doors in public facilities be automated? So A is yes, but doors installed before the passage of the ADA are exempt.
Okay.
Or yes, interior doors that require more than 5 pounds of pressure to open must be automated. Or no, the doors in public facilities don't need to be automated. Or D, yes, but only if it requires the strength of an elephant or a superhero to open.
I like that. I like the super strength of it. Okay, let's see. Yes, but doors.
So is there a current mandate? Now, I'm not talking about, there might be local mandates in your community or that sort of thing. But I'm talking about USA federal law. What is the rule? Do you think it's A, doors installed, all doors except for those installed before the passage of ADA? or interior doors that require more than 5 pounds of pressure to open must be automated, or no, there's no requirement.
Kathy's saying B and Laura's saying B, and the only reason I want to say B, but it says interior doors, and I'm not sure that's...
Yeah, I want to warn you, some of these are
you
like really...
being tricky on us?
Yeah, some of them are tricky questions.
I'm going to say C.
No, that's your answer. Well, let's see what the answer is. There is some subtlety in this one. The answer is B.
Okay.
The ADA really only has a specific requirement for interior doors. There is no specific requirement for exterior doors.
Really?
Yeah. Even though there's no specific, that word specific. Mm-hmm. See, the current mandate must all doors in public facilities be automated. The answer to that question is no.
Right. So.
Right. But it's also true that B, yes, interior doors that require more than 5 pounds must be automated. That's really the law. Now, exterior doors, of course, public buildings have to be accessible.
Right.
So that's sort of an interpretive thing. So do they have to have an automated mechanism on them? Well, only if they wouldn't be accessible by having that. So in a way, the one with the elephant and superhero one.
I like how you worded that.
If a person can't open the door, then it's not accessible, and then it doesn't meet the ADA code.
Right.
But the ADA code does mention that 8.5 pounds to 10 pounds is typical. So actually what happens is, if it's 8.5 to 10 pounds, usually people put them on at least one door on the exterior, but it's a weird sort of thing. It's not actually covered. There's a little bit of gray area in there in the ADA. So so Kathy says no one is exempt, but the truth is, yes, there are lots of exemptions, and the only thing that's required are government buildings and public organizations. So private organizations can be exempt in some cases, and an example of that is churches. Churches are not required to meet these the ADA. They can skip it. Now I think they have a moral obligation to do that, but no legal obligation. So if you go to a church and it's not accessible, the other thing is if a building is old and it can't be made accessible, there's nothing that can be done about that, and the courts have ruled again and again that becomes an exception. It's not. There's no grandfather clause.
What about if it can be done? It can be modified, but it's cost prohibitive.
Well, again, that's a court decision.
Okay.
And the thing is, there haven't even been that many cases. There are, hundreds of thousands of businesses, right? There've been less than 1,000 court cases on ADA. So it's actually probably under prosecuted, but the reason is because the law is just a little bit loosey-goosey and nobody wants to spend the money to really go after someone, and there isn't really good funding by ADA themselves for to prosecute, to bring justice in these situations. So it's funny because you'll see people that say, well, the truth is we're a very accessible country because hardly any cases have even been brought. But as Kathy knows, she's been working on a case. Oh boy, I have just our screen up. I'll bring up our ugly faces here in the corner.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah, my ugly face and your beautiful one.
Oh, yeah.
Come on up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You want to come up? Here, you can have this.
So there are those exceptions, and I found it interesting that there weren't that many lawsuits. It feels like there would be a lot more. We have an incident that I can relate. I'm not going to say where it is, but they installed an automated door, a button for the automated door to the outside of a school.
Yep.
But they put the button 6 feet up so the kids wouldn't mess with the button. But that means that the child that needs to get in can't reach the button to get in. So it seems like a big expense for nothing.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, I agree. And one other thing on this note is that the door can't close faster than...
I'm sorry.
The door can't close faster than 5 seconds.
Oh, that's
so
good.
actually, it's not even the whole way 5 seconds. It from the 90 degree to I think it's the 15 degree has to be at least 5 seconds.
Wow, I didn't realize that was
so it can't it can't slam in behind you either.
That's good.
So there are some
That's
requirements for getting through doorways, but all of these things are just a little bit loose. They're hard to prosecute. Maybe by nature, maybe the pro-business folks were really careful so that it looked like there was really good laws. But I think there should be there should be more cases. From what I've seen, there's lots of places that could be more accessible that aren't. So, and I'm reasonable on it. I wouldn't demand things that are impossible of people, but I just think there's more that can be done in lots and lots of cases. It's not that difficult. And every boat rises to the benefits. So
that's good. Okay.
So how come you're not watching the video? Okay, so question number 3. So we're rolling right along. So you saw there's a lot of subtleties in some of the questions, and that's there on purpose. So here's the question. The acronym ADA, okay. Everybody knows this, stands for American Dental Association. Or does it stand for Americans?
I think it does, actually.
Or does it stand for Americans with Disabilities Act? Or is it a programming language originated in the late 1970s? Or does it stand for Americans with Disabilities Association? Have we always gotten it sort of wrong when we've said it? Or is it A and B above? Or these are, remember in school when the teacher would do this?
I used to hate those.
Or is it A, B, and C above?
Because I fall for these things all the time.
Or does it stand for any darned acronym?
Any darned acronym. This reminds me, because my background is in health information management. We had a test on medical abbreviations that I did not study for. So there were all of these abbreviations I made.
You made them up?
I made them up.
Yeah,
it didn't go well, so I wouldn't recommend it. Okay,
so
I'm going to say, Kathy's saying B, Diane's saying B. I'm going to say C.
You're going to say C, a programming language.
No, C.
C is a programming language.
I'm sorry, I don't mean a programming. I get to go back. See, this is anyway. I'm going to say E, A and B above.
A and B.
Yes, that's what I
A and
want
B.
to
All right,
say.
so let's look at it. Yeah, I wanted to, it couldn't be just an easy, such an easy test. The answer is A and B. It's both the American Dental Association and the Americans with Disabilities
I'm going back
Act.
to my trauma from the medical abbreviation thing that I do remember, the ADA. So anyway, so it's E.
Just another thing I'll mention to you, there is a programming language called ADA. And so if you look up ADA, sometimes you'll come across information from this programming language that was written by the Defense Department to bring together. There were so many programming languages being used in the 1970s, they brought a whole bunch of them together, and they called it ADA. But it's not an acronym.
Oh.
It's named.
I knew that all along.
It's named after Ada Lovelace.
Oh.
And no relation. But Ada Lovelace is considered to be maybe one of the first programmers.
Oh.
And
well,
so they named it after her. So lots of people think Ada is an acronym, but it's not. But anyway, that's way off the subject. That's just my world, computers. So I want to throw a little something in for the computer people. But it's both the American Dental Association. So if you just look for ADA,
you'll find those things.
You'll find some weird things online.
That's all part of your research, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
all right.
For those of you who guessed B, I tricked you into it. You didn't read the whole question. And in class, always remember to read the entire question.
And did you write your name at the top
That's
of
right. That's right. I really did put that in to just to reminisce a little bit about the horrors of being in school and the way they ask questions. Okay, the next one. Which president signed the ADA into law? Which president signed the ADA into law? Giving you lots of hints along the way, right? Was it President Clinton? Was it President Reagan? Was it President George H.W. Bush? Or was it President George W. Bush? Or was it President Obama? Or was it President Andy Counted For?
President Andy Counted For? Oh, my goodness. Calvin.
President and accounted for.
Okay.
Come on, that's a good one.
It's not a good one. I'm already afraid about the joke of the day if that's what you're... Oh, no.
That wasn't the joke of the day. That was just an extra bonus.
What is it?
President Andy accounted for.
Oh my word. Okay, I'm
Be
going to
present
say
and accounted
it's one of the
for.
Bushes.
One of the Bushes. Yeah,
It's
they're
the
easy to
old
get mixed
guy.
up though. Which one is the old guy? Is it if it is the old guy, is he George H.W. Bush or is he George W. Bush? This is important. You're going to need to know this in your history
Where
class.
is my husband, who is a history teacher? He would never tell me the answers in class either. But I'm going to say Laura is saying C, so I trust Laura, and I'm going to go with C.
Oh, I should have put the wrong answer under B.
I don't know.
Just so you would
Diane's
guess
saying B, and Laura's saying, "Oh no, now I'm confused."
Yeah, lots of guesses here, huh?
No, I'm positive it's one of the Bushes, so I'm going to say C.
Okay, before we go to that slide, I just want to show you back here on the picture. Who is this guy? That's the question.
That's Uncle George.
That's him signing it right there. The answer is President George H.W. Bush. President George. Laura was right. It
And
was
so is
C.
Kathy.
In 1986, so the process was in 1986, the National Council on Disability recommended the Americans with Disabilities. They drafted the first version of the bill, and it was introduced in the House and Senate in 1988.
Okay.
All right, and so it took literally years. So from 86, then it was in the House and Senate in 88, and then 2 more years till it was signed.
That's
So
amazing.
that's when there were all the disability rights movement stuff, where all the marches on Washington, they actually took over some buildings, and that's right. You got
Thanks,
multiple.
Laura.
It's good to have multiple history teachers.
That's right.
To
Especially
keep
when you are terrible at it.
So anyway, so that's it took a long time, and there was a great deal of effort. So we have this movie about the history of it, and it's very interesting. There's those famous shots of people climbing up the stairs to the U.S. Capitol and saying, "We want accessibility in all buildings," and even to the Capitol itself, they had to climb up the stairs just to get it
Am
done.
I mistaken, or when that one of the quizzes that you were looking at, didn't it have a picture of people crawling up the steps?
Yeah. You can find those pictures and that information.
I think that was such
pretty easily.
First of all, what's the name of that movie?
Yeah, I can't remember. Rights Worth Having or something like that.
Lives Worth Living.
Yeah, that was it.
Lives Worth Living. It's such a good movie, and I highly recommend that to anybody. But
Yeah, it's hard to get a hold of.
So
You sort of have to watch it. We have to show it to you.
We
have the
sometime.
rights to it. So we did it at our last conference. We did it at Messiah. So anyway, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Reagan was pushing it, but Bush. It took years. That's the bottom line. It took years and years, and so lots of people were celebrating. Another one of the really cool things about that was they all got into the rotunda, and basically they didn't know what to do. There were all these people with wheelchairs in the rotunda, and they were like, "Okay, so we're going to arrest them," but we don't even have the ability to arrest. There's no ADA, so we can't even arrest the people in wheelchairs.
There you go. There's a way around
And then they all chained themselves to each other. They brought in big chains, and there were all these advocates.
Yeah.
It was a glorious power day for people with disabilities trying to speak for themselves. And those were the early days. There's lots of things that you would do differently today, but one thing that you wouldn't do differently was that staunch advocacy, that real strong, because it took that to get it through. One of the questions I was going to ask you was, who are those people seating around George Bush in that picture? But no one knows who. Like, no one knows their names. Like, you have to research it. So I decided that was too hard a question.
Well, we know that Johnny Erickson Tata was on the lawn.
She was
the
there,
day that they
not in the
signed-
picture.
Not in the picture, but
She was present
there.
for it. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. We're associated with Johnny Erickson Tata's organization. Just love her organization. We actually, on the Facebook side, showed her video before this video started. So, okay, so let's keep going. Question number 5. The ADA consists of how many parts or titles? That's the question. How many parts or titles? This is something I learned a little bit. I think I knew it, but I had to relearn it and and like lock it in a little bit. So, are there 5 parts or titles to the ADA? Are there 10 parts or titles to the ADA? Are there 6? Are there 16? Or now you can call it Ray, or you can call it Jay, or you can call it Ray J, but it doesn't have to call it Johnson. which
I don't know why it puts those things in your head, but you can. Okay.
Well, how many parts are there?
Okay.
You can
would
call
think
it 5, or you can call it
10,
6, or you can call it 16. But it doesn't have to call it Johnson.
Kathy's saying A. And my initial thought was D, because it feels like it's such a big
16
regulation that it would have lots of parts.
Uh-huh.
But
that's a government.
Yeah. So, but Diane saying A, Kristen saying A, Kathy saying 5, Laura saying A. I'm going to say A too.
Look at that. Yeah, you don't want to go against that one.
No.
At least you'll all be sitting on the wrong side together if it's wrong. The answer, of course, is A. It's 5. Title I is covers matters of employment. Title II covers public services like state and local governments. And this is it. And then,
but there's multiple parts in those titles, right?
Yeah. There's all sorts of regulations within it. And then Title III is public accommodations and services. So that's like private organizations that are in the public. So it's actually Title II and Title III that define the scope of ADA. It's government or all government organizations, and then private organizations that offer public accommodations and services. So if you're a private organization that only does private things, you're exempt. So that's where churches come in. It's a private organization that's a private membership that has its own it can be exempt. Not that churches should be, but they can be. And then Title IV covers telecommunications. So TTY and all that comes under telecommunications. And Title V is just miscellaneous stuff. A little bit harder to explain.
So
There's lots
everything
of
that
things in
didn't
there.
fit into those different categories.
Lots of little things.
Good to know.
So anyway, it's interesting to know those, I think, and this is the part where I really was happy to learn, be able to do a little bit of research and get a couple more things. Should we go to the next question?
Yes, let's do.
Okay, question number 6. Which section of the ADA specifically addresses required technology accessibility? All right, so I just went through the sections with you. Right, I just gave you the overview. Which section of the ADA
really
specifically addresses required technology accessibility?
Not fair.
Is it Title I, Title II, Title III, or technology accessibility is not specifically addressed by ADA, or technology schmeckology?
I want to say technology schmecknology, but I know that that's not it. I just like saying the word. Technology schmecknology. Okay. Let's see, which title? Can you say them again? No. I'm going to say Title III, which is C. Final answer.
That's right.
Do I get money for this?
Can request the books. Which books are you talking about, Kathy? The books, about the specific ADA, I assume? Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of information. If you just do ada.gov, you can find all sorts of places. We didn't find it hard to find these quizzes. We found multiple quizzes. We found it hard to find interesting quizzes, though.
Well, this is good, though. This is real stuff. This is history.
It really does matter.
It does matter.
Yeah, so I don't want to make too light of it. It's really important, but it's good to know what's in the law and what isn't in the law. There certainly are shortcomings of the law, and so this isn't a show in which we're criticizing in particular everything we can think of in the law, but I can think of lots of things that I'd like to see changed or improved. So what are the answers that are coming up?
Diane's saying C. Let's see. Who else? Kristen saying C. Laura says D. Laura, D is technology is not specific.
Technology accessibility is not specifically addressed by ADA.
now it's making me wonder if you have a trick question in there again. But I'm going to stick with C.
Well, never trust me to not have a trick question in there. The answer is D. If you think about it,
Laura is too smart.
Just think about it for a second, right?
Good job.
In 1990, there wasn't really like a web, right?
You're right.
Technology was a very different thing in 1990 than it is today. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't in the front of their thinking. So they didn't specifically, and again, see, that's the question, which section of the ADA specifically addresses required technology accessibility? But I also don't want to not give you credit for C, because if you think about it, section 2 and 3, I said, are the ones that determine the scope of ADA. So Title 2 is the section that talks about government accessibility. So the government has to give you accessibility to their services, right? Well, if those services are on the web, and part of those services are on the web, they have to give you accessibility. So Title 2 could have been an answer, and Title 3 could have been an answer because that's the public side of it that provides services and their requirement. So again, the Department of Justice has ruled multiple times that Title II and Title III do cover technology, but there really isn't a specific technology accessibility. So there's a little wiggle room. Again, it's a little bit like the doors, where that's why you hear so much advocacy for websites and that sort of thing, because it's not just absolutely clear cut. So it needs some advocacy to push it forward. You want to come up here? So in a way, it's every answer except for A, because technology, schmechnology. Come on.
I kind of like technology, schmechnology.
It seems like nobody's really thinking about it, except it's so significant. So anyway, there's thanks. I love it when folks talk to each other on the show. So please make a practice of that. I'd love it. I was thinking the other day, I hope that someday we see people getting on their. Oh my gosh, she's going crazy to get on top of you.
I don't want to.
So I'm giving her to you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. It's your turn.
She licks me.
She always gives Ida baths.
I don't want you up there. She's coming anyway.
So, but the rumor doesn't she like your lotion or something?
Yes.
Isn't that what?
Well, I tell everybody my parents used to tie pork chops around my neck because I didn't have any friends, so the dogs would play with me.
So you have pork chop lotion?
Yeah. No. I love dogs, so I think they know that.
I've seen you put lotion on her hands, and then she runs over and licks your hands. Yeah,
she just wants the lotion.
Yeah, that's gross. Ugh. Okay, question number 7, and the last question in this setup. How many employees? Okay, so one of the things that ADA covers is employment, right? We said Section 1.
Yes.
Covers employment. So how many employees does a company need to have to be subject to ADA employment requirements in Title 1? So
I'm reading your answers.
Is the answer 12? Is the answer 5? Is it any size company? Is it 15? Or is it XXL and XL are the only sizes that are exempted?
Okay. I
wear XL and sometimes XXL, so I can.
So you're exempt?
So yeah, that's the question.
Right. I'm going to say. Laura's saying they did not tie pork chops around my neck. I'm going to say. Does anybody have any guesses? Because I know the answer to this one.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, so we'll make sure that people get their guesses in.
Yes.
So, well, that's great that you know the answer. So, is it 12? Is it 5? Is it any size? All companies are the requirements of Title 1. Or is it 15?
Okay. What do you think out there?
What do you think, Ida?
I think it's D, 15.
And you feel strongly about that?
I feel strongly about it, yeah.
Meaning that companies that have 15 or less don't need to do ADA?
If you have 14 employees, you're exempt.
From the employment section?
Yes.
Wow. Something.
It is something.
That would be something if it's true. Let's see if it is.
It's true.
It turns out it is true. Yep, you did know. The answer is 15. Even though firms, now listen to this fact.
Okay, I'm listening.
Even those firms that have less than 20 employees account for 89% of the employment in the United States. 89, almost 90% of employment. Small businesses of 15 or less employees are exempt. I couldn't find what percentage of business had 15.
Yeah.
But you can get a pretty good idea that it's going to be a big number, because 20 or less is 89%. So when you think about it, Title I only applies to something like 10 or 15% of the folks.
Now, Laura just threw a curve out there.
Yep.
D, when it was put in place, and now it has been updated. So, is it 25?
Maybe I'm wrong on that. I won't.
We're gonna check that one out, because there is that possibility. But I think it's I'm old, so I think it's 15.
I researched these questions.
Okay.
So I'm pretty confident. I'm looking at a document from the National Network Information Guidance and Training on the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mm-hmm.
It's adainfo.us. They are the main source of information, and under their document that came out in 2017, right here, employment applies to employers with 15 or more employees.
Okay.
So I'm pretty confident in that number, but I'm never 100%
But Laura,
certain. I do make mistakes.
If you have the information, if you don't mind sending it to us, we would love to have
I
that.
think she was guessing at the subtlety, because she saw how I was asking questions.
That could be, since you do the trick question thing.
But I'm pretty certain that it would have been an enormous deal if since 2017 they changed it so that everyone had to do it. They've tried to exempt small businesses. Thank you. And this is a huge matter for me and us at Uniquely the Same, because we've really been committed to try to bring small business into the mix.
Right.
We're looking at employment strategies that include small businesses. Stay tuned. We've got some big programs and exciting programs coming.
Yes, we do.
But that's where our focus, because again, 90%, or not quite that, but let's say 80%. At least of the employment in the United States is impacted by this, is not really covered under ADA, and we want to try to do it not by law, not by mandate, but by value, by actually showing people that there is great value in individuals with disabilities. So. Anyway, that is another surprising fact. We have lots more. Maybe we'll do as like a second part of this sometime.
That'd be great.
There's tons and tons of really fun information and interesting information about ADA. Some of it's a little depressing, because you want it to be better than it is. But it is a step forward. It requires advocates. We need to really move forward from an advocate standpoint and really try to press organizations.
One of the things that sticks in my mind about our Beyond Suffering course that we took through Johnny and Friends International was there was on the lawn when they signed the ADA, they said, the ADA is going to make sure that there are curb cuts and there are accessible doorways and the bathrooms will be accessible. But what we need to, along with that, we need to see changed hearts. So relationships and changed hearts as it relates to disability is important. So. Yeah,
and speaking of changed hearts, let's take a look at your saying of the week.
Okay.
So thanks for playing the game with us. We're going to move on to just a couple more things, saying of the week, and a joke for you. And so let's see what your saying of the week is this week.
Well, I was trying to look at my little list here of shout-outs. July 30th is International Day of Friendship. So I was looking for a friendship quote, and this is one that I love. A friend is one who overlooks your broken fence and admires the flowers in your garden. So they look past your faults and find the beauty in you. And I think we could all do that, looking past the broken parts and finding the beauty, because there's beauty in everyone.
That's great. For the day. Thanks for that, Ida.
You're welcome.
And let's this advocacy that we talk about, our principles sound so simple that they're easily disregarded. It's basically relationship, friendship, which drives everything. But that really is a key that most organizations are not emphasizing enough. And so we press it over and over again. And so maybe you as a viewer are used to hearing us say that friendship matters. So what we don't need more people. Well, we could use people doing more programs too, right?
True.
But doing more programs will never ever solve the problem. What we really need is we need people who develop friendships with individuals with disabilities to the extent that they're going out for coffee in the morning, that they're actually friends without requirements, friends that are not stipulated by employment or by program or by church activity, but are actually just friends. That when your ball team wins the championship, that it's a person that you voluntarily call, just because they're your friend. That's the attitude change. We need individuals of all ilks, whether you have a disability or not, to be friends with one another. And what we know is that isn't true today. That people are isolated, and in particular, people with disabilities are more isolated than the general population. So I know we harp on that a lot. I know we talk about it a lot, but we do it because it's the key. It's the key. Every time we go into I'm always shocked when we go into a program and we're sitting around with these experts,
right?
And we basically say, we tell them some principle, and they're just astonished by the principle. And underneath the principle is just care, just be friends,
just a relationship.
And but when you put that in the right terms, it gets people really excited, and it reminds the professionals why they're in the business they're in, why they started out doing this, why they go to work every day, why they really care, and they say, "Oh, that gets at my heart, and I really want that." And I don't know, it's always funny to me. Let's jump into the joke of the day. The joke of the day, we've been holding off on this for quite some time. It's Nathan, who has been our engineer for a while.
That's right.
And so we finally got around to picking on my son Nathan, who has been busy. He's had events on Wednesday nights almost steadily, so he's been unable to participate in the show lately. But he's he loves technology. He's a real good video guy, and so we tapped into him early. He helped us get the show off the road. So this is Nathan's joke. We put words into Nathan's mind. Let's see if you know this one. Did you hear about the guy addicted to brake fluid?
Oh, I'm so afraid to ask. No, I didn't hear about the guy addicted to brake fluid.
It's one of these easiest addictions because he could stop at any time.
I have no words. That is so bad.
Yeah. If you're gonna be addicted to something that helps you stop.
Fluid? Just help you stop anytime. No, I'm sorry.
Right.
I just cannot abide by that.
All right, I'm not laughing at addiction. I'm laughing at the play on words. I think that's funny.
Okay. I'm sorry, Nathan. He did it without my knowledge.
Nathan, that's a good joke. I've started to look up bad dad jokes now.
And is that where you found it?
Yes.
I'm so surprised.
All right, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're going to say goodbye to you. There are recommended videos right over there and down below in the what they sometimes call the doobly-doo.
I love the doobly-doo.
Down below in the description, we've got some things that you can look at, or over there. Thanks for joining us. I'm uniquely the same. You're uniquely the same. Together, we could change the world. We'll see you next time.